There's a bad apple in every bunch. Now, truth be told, that's not really true, is it? However, there are bad apples out there in our practices, and we all need to know how to handle these situations. Right now, as I speak, 3 out of 5 dental offices are experiencing some type of fraud or embezzlement. And this is something that I think we need to stop. Now, there are, in my opinion, there's 3 types of employees who will embezzle. First, we have Brazen Barb. And Barb is our career criminal. She's smart. She's manipulative. She is going to buck the system and steal your money, all right? Next, we have Deserving Diane. Diane was always a loyal employee, but at some point, she felt her loyalty was not being repaid to her. It wasn't coming back. She thought she deserved more. She helped this doctor build the practice. And why wasn't he paying her more? Or we should get a bonus. Number 3, we have Tempted Tammy. And Tammy is the one that, she's not supposed to take those cookies sitting on the counter, but they're staring right at her, and she's hungry. She wants some. So she goes ahead and takes it. She's the one that she needed some extra money at some point. She needed to pay a medical bill, or she was, her husband lost his job. So she needed a little extra cash. One day she took $100. She'll pay it back. Well, time went on. Guess what? Tammy didn't get caught. She never did pay it back either. Well, what ended up happening was that $100 became 100 times that $100. 1,000 times that $100. Susan had a case where it was 10,000 times that $100. We have to stop this. Now, I'm not foolish enough to think that we're going to stop all embezzlement from happening. If that were true, the big corporations and the SEC, they would have done that already, am I right? However, I would like to take that 3 out of 5 dental offices that are currently being embezzled, let's bring that number down to 1 or 2. We could do that, right? Or maybe that $100,000 on average is being embezzled out of the dental practices. Let's chunk that number down piece by piece. That's what I want to see happen. Now, this happened in the office that I worked in years ago. And what ended up happening is I was working as a hygienist. I was just working 1 day a week. But I had worked for this doctor for years. And I worked for him before I even went to hygiene school. So I ran his front desk. And I asked him, I said, I have 3 kids. It's really tough to pay for daycare for any more than the 1 day. So I just worked 1 day as a hygienist, but I said, is there anything I can do for you from home? He said, you know what, that'd be great. My insurance receivables is completely out of hand. If you could take that report home and work off of that, I would really appreciate it. Perfect. I love calling insurance companies and tracking down money. I know I'm a little weird, but I like it. So I took that report home, and I started calling. Well, guess what? Those claims were paid. And I kept getting that same answer. We paid that. We paid that. So I was asking the question, okay, well, did the check get cashed? Is it just hanging out there somewhere? Maybe it went to the wrong office. No, it's been cashed. Okay. So I went back to my office, and I started looking through accounts. Maybe it got credited to the wrong account. I surely didn't think that anyone was doing anything wrong. So, lo and behold, couldn't find where those payments might have gone. Don't you know, my little embezzler was getting very nervous. So I went back home, and I called some more. At that point, I was getting a little self-conscious about doing anything in the office, so I went home, I started calling some more, and they said, same thing. It's been paid, it's been cashed. So I started asking for the copies of those checks. Can you send me the front and back so I can see what's happening? I actually thought maybe the mailman was stealing our money. Surely it was not anybody in my practice. So I got a nice lady one day on the phone, and she said, well, sure, I can send that to you. She said, I can tell you right now what it says if you like. I'm looking at it. Perfect. That'd be great. It's going to solve my mystery. So she says, it's signed with the doctor's name. Okay, the doctor never signed his name on a check. For deposit only was always stamped on all of our checks. Okay, so that was weird. Well, then she says, and then there's another signature right below. And she told me the signature. Now, let me tell you all, I almost threw up. I was shaky, kind of like I'm shaky here now. And I came to realize that the person that was my friend that I had worked with for 8 years was stealing the money out of my practice, taking it for herself. Now, I don't know about you, the ones that have worked in dental offices and, when in the dental offices that you're in, it's a small practice, right? Most of them are small. This is a family. I was devastated that she could do that. And the reason I'm telling you all this is because I feel like there is something that we are not talking about when it comes to embezzlement. We talk about how to stop it. We talk about how often it's happening, where things are going, but we are not talking about the devastating effects that it is having on these practices as a whole, because it is devastating. It's devastating for the doctor, number one, for their finances, right? But it's also devastating for everyone in the practice, and that's something that I think we need to stop. We need to start talking to our clients, mending the fences that are in this practice. It's all about recovery after we do the investigation, all right? The investigation is going on. I see that, I'm doing an investigation. We get that all done. We put some controls in place, and guess what? That's all that's happening. Then it's done. Well, what we're not doing is, and I think for everyone in this room, what everyone here needs to do, because when I do an embezzlement investigation, most times I'm not in that practice at all. I'm doing it remotely. I may go in for a little while, and I may, have to do some investigating, but I'm not going in there and talking to them about what has actually happened to them. I actually had one of the assistants in our practice that really kind of lost it, and she quit. She couldn't continue in the practice. So it is emotional, and it affects their mental state. So that's what I'm imploring you guys to do, is when you know that there's been an embezzlement that has happened in these practices, get out into the practice and talk to them, okay? They're not going to start the conversation. They don't want to. It hurts. It's too close to them. So what you guys need to do is get out there and talk and have the conversation. Get it started. How do you feel? I know this lady was your friend. How is this affecting your work? How is this affecting you personally? Because I'll tell you, my husband thought I was going nuts. I mean, that is all I talked about for months, because I was doing the investigation in the office, but also I could not believe that that lady that was my friend, and I still to this day, I think, oh my gosh, how did she do that? That she would do that. So I want you guys to get in there. There's an elephant in the room that is not being addressed. It keeps being put under the rug. Get into those offices and talk to them. Do some team building. We all do that, right? We all do the team building. Get in there and build this team back up. Start talking to them, and, the biggest thing is going to be trust. You have to build their trust back up, because not only does the doctor not trust anybody because they just got $100,000 stolen from them. But those teammates don't trust anybody either. All right, I'll tell you, there are three controls that I would like for you guys to think about putting in place. And they're easy, all right? I'm not saying they're the only controls that I feel like should be put in place, but these are easy controls, and I know our doctors, they don't want to look at all these reports. They are tired of, they want to do dentistry. That's all they want to do. So number one, what I want to tell you is put passwords in place. When you put the passwords in place, number one, it's going to have those employees maybe think twice about what they're doing when they go to delete that payment and they have to put their password in. The other thing is that maybe I can prove who did it. Because guess what? If there's no passwords in place, I can't tell you beyond a shadow of a doubt that Sally was the one stealing when Joni might have been doing it. So we need to have the passwords put in place for that. But the biggest thing is, I need you to implore your teammates not to share their passwords with their other teammates. Because I will tell you right now, if she had asked me for my password because she needed to do something, I would have given it to her in a heartbeat. We were friends, okay? And I tell all of my offices that. Don't share your passwords. I know that they're your friend, but don't share them. Are you giving them your bank debit number? No, you're not giving that to anybody, right? Don't share your password. It protects you and it protects the doctor, but it protects the other employees as well. So, number two, I want you to have your doctors run a day sheet. They need to have a day sheet at the end of every day. They don't have to run it. They just need somebody to give it to them, okay? Needs to be put on their desk or handed to them. And then I want them to move it, all right? Even if they don't look at it. It doesn't need to sit on the same corner that yesterday's was sitting. Take it home. Put it in a file. I don't care. But I want those employees to think that they're looking at it, okay? And along those same lines, number three would be to ask questions. On occasion, take a look at that day sheet. So, why did Judy not pay today when she was in? Or why did we have to write so much off on Sally Jones? Or, hey, that was great collecting that money on John Smith. It can be a good thing, but it gives the impression that they're looking. And guess what? Perception is reality. Am I right? So, my message to you is when you find the embezzlement, you know, there's an investigation that happens and we put the controls in place. But the next 2, 3, 6 months after that are just as important. I need you to get in there and talk to those offices because I can't do it. It's not what I do. You guys have the relationship with them and need to get in there and remove that elephant from the room. Thank you very much.
Wow, what a story.